folks, it is Monday. It is time for another episode of Monday Night Nerd. Welcome everyone to the 156th episode of the podcast. I'm so glad you could tune in tonight. We got a fun episode ahead of us. Tonight we're going to be talking about the first time I ever went to Comic-Con. Now, we did this episode way back in the day. This was the first episode. And, I didn't really know what I was doing here on the podcast. I didn't really get to talk about the things I wanted to. So tonight, we're going to talk all about the first time going to Comic-Con, because this was a moment that changed my life. I had no idea what Comic-Con was, and then someone told me you should check this thing out. And ever since then, I've been to over 50, 60. I've lost count how many Comic-Cons I've been to. But we're going to talk about that. But first, we're going to kick things off with a little bit of news. But before we get even into that, again, this is 156 episodes. So if you're new here, or if you're a returning fan, I greatly appreciate it. My name is Myers Corp Cosplay. I'm a cosplayer in the Southern Ontario area. I'm a nerd, and this is my podcast. We talk about nerdy things here every Monday night, LIVE live. We talk about cosplay, we talk about movies, we talk about music, we talk about video games, we talk about everything under the sun. And if you want to follow me and you want to see some more of my content and some more things that are going on, you should check me out on Facebook, check me out on Instagram, check me out on YouTube with Myers Corp Cosplay. And if you're a wrestling fan specifically, you should hop over to Monday Night Myers Corp Wrestling on TikTok as well. That is where we talk about wrestling almost every single day, where we talk about what is going on in the world of wrestling over the past, so many years that I've been a fan. I've been a fan since 97. So if you want to follow me on social media, I greatly appreciate that. But as always, we're going to kick things off with a little bit of stuff called the news. Live from the multiverse, it's Monday Night News. We have got a few news segments to go through, and then we're going to kick it off with the main event, folks. As always, we usually like to talk about things that I've watched, things that I am playing right now. We are in the middle. I'm about probably halfway through a replay of Resident Evil Village. I am loving that game. I had already beaten it, so I know what happens, but I just wanted to play a Resident Evil game that wasn't going to be a slog. I know I have to play Resident Evil 0 and 1 again, and I know that's going to be a pain, so I thought I'd sit back and enjoy Village first. I also downloaded 2XKO, and if you're a League of Legends fan, and you know I am because my man Darius is behind me, I downloaded that last night. It is League of Legends 2-on-2 fighting game. It is a lot of fun. I only played it for a little bit, but I'm really excited to jump into that and actually start to enjoy it because, like I said, my man Darius is in it, and they have some pretty cool skins in that game, and I'm very excited to see where we're going to go with that. Let's talk a little bit about what I've watched. Past couple nights, I have watched the newest episodes of X-Men 97, episodes 7 and 8. My streaming service did not get 7 early. I'm not saying I didn't watch it on Disney Plus. I'm saying my service didn't get it. What did I think of 7 and 8? Well, I have noticed a trend through all of these episodes. Each one of these episodes is specifically pointed towards one person. The 7th episode is all about Nightcrawler, which I was very happy to see them center around that, especially because they've done episodes with Jean Grey and Cyclops, with Cable. We could talk about earlier episodes. They've been out long enough. They've done episodes about Jubilee, which I appreciated, and now we're into the Nightcrawler episode, and I really like the way that he is introduced. There are characters from his past and other characters that we've seen in the X-Men universe over the past several years when the original series was going on, and now we get to see them make more of an impact in the current timeline, which I'm very interested about, because one of the characters that joins the team I've been a big fan of. Again, I don't want to spoil it, because if I spoil the character, it'll lead into what happens in the story, but I'm a big fan of that character, and I cannot wait to see where they're going to go with it in the future. Episode 8 was the episode that a bunch of people were telling me I needed to watch, because I am a cosplayer of one of the characters that makes a giant return in the show. Again, I don't want to spoil everything because, it's a brand new episode, but it is very heavily a Rogue episode. it plays to the emotions so well, and I'm very happy with how it turns out. And I cannot wait to see what I believe only 2 episodes left in the series, which kind of sucks, but I got a feeling they're going to be pumping out season 3 pretty darn quick with how well everyone is enjoying it. Marcy is here in chat. I greatly appreciate you tuning in tonight. I guess we got to kind of talk about Spider-Man Brand New Day. We didn't talk about it last week because we were all on holidays. I saw it. I saw it opening night at my local theater, and the box office has come out and has shown that people are still interested in the web crawler. It has done over $1 billion, which I'm very, very happy to see. That movie does deserve it. Very happy with how well they told the Spider-Man story. I've seen a lot of people say that it is probably the most Spider-Man story they've done. I would say Spider-Verse is probably a little better, the Into the Spider-Verse, but when it comes to live action, I think this is probably the best take on a Spider-Man story I've probably ever seen. I'm not a big fan of the extra things that come along with going to the movies. We talked about on a previous episode. We talked about how I'm not a big fan of the 4DX. We don't like the 3D and all that stuff. I feel it takes away from a lot of these movies. Because everyone is so excited to see this new Spider-Man Brand New Day, I did not get a chance to just get 2D tickets. I had to go see it with my buddies in 3D, and I was a little apprehensive, but I am very, very happy that we got 3D showing of this movie, because there are many, many scenes where they have almost taken shots straight from the Spider-Man Insomnia game, and where he is diving off rooftops, and it really shows the distance with the 3D glasses. So I was very happy that we actually paid the little bit extra to go see it in 3D. When it comes to characters, I think I'm not going to spoil anything, obviously. If you want to check out spoilers, they're all over the internet. It's still not on streaming yet, so I don't want to spoil anything. But all the characters that are introduced, I'm interested to see where they're going to go. I've seen people love it. I've seen people hate it. I'm kind of indifferent about it. There have been many, many good and bad Marvel movies, and I think this is one of the better ones, so I can't sit there and crap all over a little tiny thing here and there when we really don't know what the future is. Pretty Nerd Crystal in chat says 3D makes me feel sick. Sometimes it makes me feel sick too. There are definitely some movies where, I've talked about in the past where I went to see not Into the Spider-Verse, the second one, and that was just so jarring to me that I just did not enjoy myself at all, and honestly have not watched the movie since that. But this one was actually very good. Showing the depth of the jumps and stuff like that was actually probably one of the best parts about the movie. So overall, I don't need to tell you to go see it, because you probably have already seen it. And if you've not already seen it, you're probably going to go very, very soon, because I think everyone under the sun that is a Spider-Man fan has gone and seen this movie, if not once, twice. So very good to see that Marvel has had a resurgence, at least with the webhead. And now we kind of just sit back and wait till we get into Doomsday, which is going to be interesting. Spider-Man is supposedly not playing a factor into it, which means he's going to be in Secret Wars, which means we may get a symbiote suit. Maybe it's just they're just going to introduce the black suit and not actually be the symbiote. But we'll see. I'm very interested to see what they're going to do with this. Justin Smith in chat says Spider-Man movies are the only comic book movies I'll still watch. I enjoyed the new one. Yes. It is. You are not the only one that I know that feels that way. There are a lot of people who are diehard Marvel fans, and they've just kind of fallen off the edge. They've fallen off the rails and said, it's too much. I only want to see the ones that I'm really interested in. And they're usually the Spider-Man ones. Marcy said, yep, I have vertigo, can't do 3D. Yeah, it's some people, it just doesn't work. A funny story that I always like to tell, before the 3D movie boom over the past little while was big, IMAX was kind of the new thing at the time. I can't remember what year it was, probably early 2000s. And my dad is a race car driver. There's a local tracks here that my dad races cars. We used to, doesn't do it anymore. And he's a big NASCAR fan. And back in the day, IMAX had a big IMAX NASCAR movie where they actually shot NASCAR races, and you were, with the cars and everything. It was really, really cool. And it was in 3D. And my dad got me and his couple buddies, and we went to the movies. And this was not as accessible as it is now. I'm from the Hamilton area. The movie theater was just south of Toronto, so it was a good trek to get to this IMAX theater. We drove all that way. We sat down, and this was not the 3D like they have now where the glasses are clear. There was some red and green that you had to deal with. And my dad sat down in the seat. We looked up at the screen. He put the glasses on, and it was at that moment we remembered my dad is blind in one eye, so 3D doesn't really work for him. It was a kind of gut-wrenching moment because we knew we would enjoy it, but we knew he would not be enjoying it as much because if he wore the glasses, I believe he was looking at just red, and if he wasn't, then he was just kind of seeing these overlaid image on the screen. So little sad for him, but that is a moment where I realized, oh yeah, I guess a lot of people in this world can't do 3D if you have vision problems. But yeah, go see Spider-Man. If you've not seen it, you're probably living under a rock at this point because it seems like everybody who's ever been a comic book fan is going to the movies to see Spider-Man. The only other news we need to talk about, and it's part of the reason why I'm wearing this old bandana here, I was able to go to the Guns N' Roses show just outside Hamilton, well, in Toronto, at the new Rogers Stadium. Now, I want to talk about this, because we talk about all nerdy things, and I am a music nerd. I'm a big Guns N' Roses fan. I have seen them before, but I was gifted these tickets from a very, very kind person, and I was really excited to go see this concert because my wife's favorite song is Sweet Child of Mine, and she's never seen Guns N' Roses live, but we knew we would be taking the trek out to Rogers Stadium, and if you're not from the Toronto area, you don't know that they built this temporary arena stadium thing in the middle of an old airport. If you've ever seen videotape and footage from what was known as SARS-stock, the concert after the SARS outbreak, that was the same area. It's at the same airport that is no longer an airport. What's happened is the city of Toronto is wanting to develop that area, and temporarily they put a giant stadium there to hold the area. I don't know. A lot of people, including what seems to be Justin Smith in chat, says Rogers Stadium is a nightmare to get out of. So let's kind of go through what happened. So I was thinking the same thing. I had heard that this was an absolutely terrible venue to, get out of, etc. So I talked to a friend of mine who is very well versed in the Toronto transit system, and she brought up that we should park at Yorkdale Mall and simply take the subway in, which was only like 2 stops to the stadium, which we did, and we got there bright and early because opening for Guns N' Roses was Public Enemy, and I've always loved Public Enemy since I was a kid. I'm not a diehard Public Enemy fan, but I've always loved their music. Bring the Noise, Fight the Power, all those songs I've had on my playlist many, many years. So I really wanted to see the opening band, and we got there bright and early. We got there just as doors open, and to be completely honest, getting there was not that bad. Once we got off the subway, it was only about a 20-minute walk, 15-minute walk to the stadium. And actually, the stadium is actually right across from the subway station. The problem is that it's an airfield, and the stadium's like dead center. So you do have to walk through the airfield a bit to get to the stadium. But once we got there, we were a little worried we'd be out in the middle of nowhere because I am pale as hell. I was worried I was going to burn like crazy, so I just dumped a whole bunch of suntan lotion on. But there are tons of shaded areas. There's lots of places to hang out, lots of places to eat, lots of places to get merch. I picked up a Guns N' Roses shirt. I picked up a Public Enemy shirt. And then we just kind of hung out and walked around for a bit. We went up. Public Enemy came out. I love their set. I've seen so many people post videos of going, there's so many people who don't like this music. And I'm like, yeah, I know they don't really fit with the Guns N' Roses crowd, but I'm the type of person where I love Guns N' Roses. I love Public Enemy. I love Spice Girls. I love all types of music. So getting that weird mashup was actually really cool for me. And I bet there were some people that saw them and was like, this is different, and I actually don't mind it. I don't think everybody hated it like some people are saying. Then Axl and the guys came out and played 28 songs. Now, Previous shows they'd played 32, but this one got crunched down because I'm pretty sure they had to do a hard cutoff at 11 because there are residential area around the stadium and they really can't go past 11, or I'm pretty sure they're paying a hell of a fine. The big topic whenever I say that I went to see Guns N' Roses was how was Axl's voice. Axl Rose over the past few years has had some struggle due to his age and, beating up his voice when he was younger. Axl wasn't horrible. He was a lot better at the beginning, and you could tell throughout the show he just pushes himself so hard that by the end of the show, he's pretty raspy. Now, that does not... Because of that, I don't feel the videos and stuff that are circulating online of all of his performances are very accurate because everyone thinks that's going to be the whole concert. No, when he kicked off the concert, he was pretty darn good. It was just by the end, screaming almost all night. Yeah, you're going to screw your voice up a bit. They played some Velvet Revolver, which was cool. If you don't know who that is, that's Slash and Duff's band when they weren't in Guns N' Roses. I'm a huge Velvet Revolver fan. That was the CD that was in my stereo for probably 7-8 years, and I never took the thing out. Great songs, great night. Because it's in Toronto, and because we had to take a subway and all that, we did have to leave early. And because of that, we did end up missing the final song, which was Paradise City. That does play into us being able to get out of there at a decent time and not having a lot of problems with traffic. Yeah, because it was rush hour traffic, we had to leave here around 3:30. We knew we had a pretty good idea we weren't going to get back here till about midnight. We have 3 animals here. We can't just leave them alone for that extended time. We tried to get someone in here to check on them, but unfortunately everyone was busy, so just had to do our best to leave a little early. We left 3 songs left, and by the time we got to the train station, the second last song was just finishing. So we literally were like walking in the station and Paradise City was just starting. So overall, we didn't miss that much. And I heard the songs. I love Paradise City, but there were definitely songs that I wanted to hear as a diehard GNR fan that I really wanted to hear live, and I got to. I got to hear Civil War. I got to hear November Rain as I was walking out. They played some really deep stuff from the Use Your Illusions albums. Overall, it was a good show. I'm glad. I have to obviously say that because it was a free ticket, that does play a factor. If I was paying hundreds of dollars like some people did, fair enough, you might have a different opinion. But overall, when it comes to the show, I had a fun time. My wife had a fun time. It was a great night out. We got home at midnight, which wasn't as terrible as it could be. But overall, it was a good show. If you're a diehard GNR fan, I would say go see them if you haven't seen them before, because sadly, like I said with Axl's voice, it's not going to get better probably. It's just going to get worse. So enjoy it while you can, because there might be a time where he just can't do it anymore. Justin Smith, I personally will only see GNR again if they bring back Izzy Stradlin, Steven Adler, or Matt Sorum. That's fair. I get if you want to see the original lineup. I saw them... I'm happy to see them now because the last time I saw them was the Chinese Democracy run, which actually the ticket stub, I have behind this monitor, I have all my ticket stubs, and that's actually one that's staring at me right now. Saw it in 2010, and that was none of the band. That was literally just Axl and his buddies. So I'm happy to see Slash and Duff back in the band. Shinobi, Rogers Stadium is loud too. Was at a park 2 miles away in the Foo Fighters show that night before, and I could still make the songs out pretty well. And that was kind of what I was thinking when we were leaving, because my wife was like, I said I wanted to see November Rain, but I was like, if we don't leave now, we're going to leave the second last song, which was Night Train, and then I was like, we're going to get halfway there, and then the crowd is literally going to be behind us. I'm like, I'd love to hear Paradise City, but I heard all the songs I want. Let's just get out of here when we can. So, yeah. By the time we got to the train station, I could still hear Night Train pretty darn clear. And there was actually a good bunch of people that were in the residential area just sitting out on their balconies listening to the show. Saw GNR in the 90s at CNE Stadium, says Marcy. Yeah. Unfortunately, I was born in 88, so I missed a lot of those shows. I didn't start going to concerts till 2000, and that was my first show was Kiss in their first farewell tour. And after that, I just have always been a concert fiend and would love to go to so many shows. I've already got 2 more. This is showing the variance of my taste in music. Edith, who I've talked to here on the show, we're going to see Tupperware, I can't remember what their full name is, Tupperware Recycling Party. They're in 2 weeks, and then after, I think in October, we're going to see Venga Boys, and then in December, I'm going to see Dragon Force. So, like, totally different genres of music, but that's just the way I am. We've talked about it here on the podcast, I've got probably 30 to 40,000 songs, if not more, on a hard drive that I just have ripped CDs since I was a kid because I just love all types of music, except country. Country is like the only one that I'm like not a big fan of, but there's still a couple country artists that I don't mind. And that's kind of it for the news tonight. We're gonna have some fun tonight. This is gonna be a good topic. If you guys are still here, if you can hit that like button, hit that share button, hit that subscribe button, that would mean a lot. And if you're here on TikTok, if you can hit that follow button, hit that like button, would mean a lot. As always, folks, we have a sponsor here on the podcast. That sponsor is my beautiful, loving, amazing, incredible wife. I would not be doing this without her in many different ways because she gives me this amazing house, and we built this house together and this family together, and I don't know where I would be without her. I am a very, very better person because of her, and I would not... Hey, Edith in chat, Tupperware Remix Party, thank you. I would not be here without my amazing wife. So, hun, I appreciate you. I love you. Thank you. You will always be my sponsor. All right, folks, it is time to jump into the main event. It's time for the main event. Okay, folks, we are here in the main event. We're going to talk about the first time I ever went to Comic-Con. Now, why are we talking about this randomly? Well, I was going through some old episodes, and if you've been a listener to the podcast, this was actually my first episode. We talked about this, and I kind of went back and listened to it, and it was my first episode, and it was crap, to be honest, because it was my first, and firsts are always not going to be that great. And I thought, I really love talking about this story, and I haven't talked about it in over 150 episodes, and I really want to talk about this again because this is honestly a moment in my life that changed me forever. There are at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people in the chat tonight that I would not know if I didn't make this decision. And that's huge. That's huge to know that just 5 people who are watching the podcast right now would not be in my life if I didn't make one decision in my life. So that's important, and I want to talk about that. So let's go into why did I start going to Comic-Con? Because that is something that I think like I said, this means so much to me because it literally was a split-second decision. I was living at my mom's place. This is back in 2009. It was probably spring 2009. And some of my buddies came over, my brothers, who I've known since I was a kid. I call them my brothers. They're my best friends. They're some of my best friends. We were hanging out at my mom's place, and my buddy Tom looked at me and said, "Hey, do you want to go to this thing called Fan Expo?" And I went, "What the hell is Fan Expo?" He goes, "It's this thing in Toronto. It's 3 days long, and if we go, we can maybe meet Bruce Campbell." And I went, "Wait, we can meet Bruce Campbell?" Now, if you don't know who Bruce Campbell is, you are missing out. He is the star of Ash. He is Ash from Evil Dead and Army of Darkness. I was a big Bruce Campbell fan. I loved him in all those movies. I was a fan of Burn Notice. I was a fan of My Name is Bruce. I've seen Bubba Hotep and a whole bunch of other stuff that he's done. And he said, "Yeah, Bruce Campbell is going to be at this thing called Fan Expo." And I went, okay, so what is it? He's like, it's like this Comic-Con thing. Like, we would go there and we would just, walk around a bit and we meet Bruce Campbell. And I said, so what? We're going to, like, where is it? He goes, it's in Toronto. And I went, okay, that's not far. When I was a kid, I used to go to Toronto all the time with my mom. And by that point, I was going by myself. So I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, I know Toronto pretty well. And he goes, yeah. We would just hang out. And I'm like, all right, so we just go for the day. And he goes, no, we're going to go for 3 days. And I was like, what? We're going to go for 3 days to Toronto? Now, to some people, that would be like, well, duh, that's not a big deal. I never went anywhere on vacation or went with friends to things that weren't day trips. Like, I never did any of that. I went on vacation with my mom and my grandparents when I was 7. I went when I was like 14, and that was it. Like, we didn't go on vacation. If we ever went to Toronto, it was a day trip. I never like stayed in a hotel really, except for those 2 times. So this was like a big thing for me. And honestly, looking back on it, I can tell you I was a little scared about it because this was kind of the first real independent thing I ever did. Like, I was cool to go to Toronto for a day, but I would be home by the end of the day because, like, I didn't go out at night. I didn't go to clubs. I didn't go to bars and stuff like that. I was a nerd, and I still am. I would just be at home playing video games or watching movies or watching wrestling. Like, this was a big deal for me. And I really want to emphasize that because I know a ton of people. I've talked to so many people because of cosplay that have said, like, I've never been to Comic-Con. I've never thought of leaving my house and walking around in cosplay. And I'm like, you have no idea how much it could change your life. And I'm serious about that because at that very moment, when Tom asked me that, I could have said no. And based off my history, I could have said no and it wouldn't have been a shock. And Tom probably wouldn't have pushed it. He probably would have went, okay, we'll go. We'll tell you how it is. And I would not have gotten to experience all of the things that happened. And I would have heard secondhand. I may have gone the next year because we ended up going, like, I've gone every year since, and they ended up going with me the next 4 years. But it's really one of those cross moments in my life where I was like, man, if I said no, what happens? Where do I go? What do I do with my life? Like, without that, this podcast probably doesn't exist. None of this cosplay exists. The other room cosplay doesn't exist. The backyard storage bins don't exist. It's a big change. And thankfully, I said yes. And it really is a moment where I was like, okay, here's the rest of your life. Or at least the next 15, 20 years are going to be in this direction. So we got together and we kind of figured out the logistics of it. So what were we going to do? Okay, we're going to go to Toronto. Okay, we need a hotel. Where's a hotel we can go to? Okay, we're going to go to, we were only like 20, 21 at that point. Like, we didn't have a ton of money, so we had to stay at a pretty bleh hotel because that's all we could afford. And we ended up finding one probably, I would say, a 15, 20-minute walk from the convention. The hotel does no longer exist. We literally went to that hotel 1 year. The next year, it was closed. We'll talk about why that possibly could be in a few minutes. Shinobi said that was me for years, total homebody. Some people are like that, but I'm telling you, if you are, take a step outside because, man, does it change. Edith said, it's wild that I had a very similar experience when I went to Fan Expo the first time. The whole independence for the first time is spot on too. I will never forget that experience. Yeah, it does totally change. It totally changed me. That's such an overused statement. That's such an overblown, like, it changed my... Seriously, it did. So we figured out, okay, it's going to be the four of us. It's going to be myself, my buddy Tom, my buddy Gavin, who is Tom's cousin, and Tom's little brother Andy. And we're all four going to go. We're going to get 2 beds. We're going to split the beds. It's going to be a fun time. It's going to be like a guy hangout. So we get to... Oh, let me back up. If you know me, and Edith can probably confirm this, I am a person who wants to be in charge of logistics. If we ever get a hotel, I want to be the one in charge. I can handle other people doing it, but if it's up to me, I want to be in charge of it. If we're trying to figure out, scheduling and stuff like that, I want to be the person in charge of that. It's just something that makes me feel good. Like, I want to be the one to take all that responsibility, because if something goes wrong, I want to fall on my sword. That's the type of person I am. So, when we booked the hotel, I said to Tom and Gavin, I said, look, the con is on, we'll say, August 25th. August 23rd, we had a concert at the now RBC Amphitheater in Toronto. So I said to them, because we're going to be in the Toronto area, why don't we leave early, go spend the day in Toronto? While we're spending the day in Toronto, we'll go past the hotel, triple check everything's set. That way we know when we arrive for Fan Expo, we don't have to worry. We'll get there, everything's checked, cool, we can pretty much walk in, they can give us the key, we can go drop our stuff off and go to the con. They love that idea. We go to the concert, we go to Toronto for the concert, we go to the hotel, we check, everything's good. 4 people, 1 room, 3 nights. Perfect. Exactly what we asked for. The day of the con was 3 days at that point. It wasn't 4 days as it is today. So we get there Friday morning, early-ish, because the con started like 1, 2 o'clock. Get there Friday. Check-in, we're told, is at 12, I believe. We get there. Again, we do not drive. We are taking the GO bus. So we are not parking there. We're getting off at the Toronto GO station. We're walking down the street to the hotel. It is about a 20-minute walk. So 20-minute walk from the bus to the hotel. We have luggage. We each probably have two bags worth of stuff. Edith said it's like you're married. Yeah, it's like I'm married to my wife. Exactly. Dopamine spike of listed planning now. No, I've always been that way. I'll tell you why. I've always been that way because there were several times when I was like, okay, I'm gonna I want to cut this for a show for a short, but I want to do this quick story. The reason I'm like that is because back in grade 6, I love this story. Back in grade 6, we were tasked with doing a book report project. We were tasked with doing something, I want to say it was something, it was not, the word scary related is a bad term, but it was something of that type. Like it had to be like werewolves or something like that. And a buddy of mine at the time, never talked to him after this, said, we're going to do exorcisms as our project. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. I'd seen Exorcist at this point. I'm like, all right. There was, back in the day, we didn't have the internet. You had to go to the library to get the book. In the Hamilton area, in the Hamilton Public Library, there was one book on exorcists and exorcisms. Okay. I went to check it out. He had already gone and got it. And I was like, okay, let's, you do a little bit, I'll do a little bit. He goes, no, Michael, you sit back. I've got this project. Okay. I get to sit back. I don't have to read a book. Cool. I can do that. We get there the day of a presentation. We go in front of the class. He stands there, has full presentation, slideshow, everything, posters on the wall, and like he went berserk on exorcisms. Big project, starts doing the speech, probably went 15 minutes. And I just sat there and agreed. Yep, that's what exorcisms are. Thank you. We sit down. The teacher looks and says, that was great. Appreciate you guys coming up there. I want to tell you in front of the class that had absolutely nothing to do about exorcisms. You both are getting a 0. That was the moment when my brain went, you have to do all this shit yourself. And it comes at a point where I probably overwork myself, but that was the first moment in my life where I was like, all right, DTA, don't trust anybody with stuff like that. Make sure to do it yourself. But yeah, that was probably the first time where I was like, okay, got it. So let's go back. So we have checked with the hotel a couple days before. The hotel says everything's good. We're set. We arrive the first day of the convention. We get off the go bus. We walk the 15-20 minutes to the hotel. Obviously, it's check-in day for a bunch of people, so there's a little bit of a lineup, so we're waiting there. We get up to the desk. I've triple-checked everything. It's under my name. Walk up to the counter. Hi, my name's Mike. These are the 3 guys. We have a reservation for this weekend, 3 nights. We were in here a couple days ago. Everything was confirmed. Thank you very much. The guy looks me dead in the eye and goes, we don't have you as a reservation. And I went, okay, yes you do, because we came here a couple days ago and we talked to someone and they said yes. We don't have a reservation. Okay. Can we get a reservation? Nope, we're booked solid. Okay. How can we make this work? Before I could get the word work out, he goes, we can't, get out. Now, as Edith and a few other people would probably confirm, I am cool, calm, and collected in these moments. I will probably never break under circumstances like this. Tom, on the other hand, is a short fuse from exploding. Tom gets up from his seat and almost lunges over the counter at the guy. I grab him by the scruff of the shirt, pull him back, and in front of everybody, like a dad, sit down, let me deal with this. Sir, as you can tell, my friend is very frustrated about this. Please find our registration. He says, we don't have it. I said, okay, well, at this point we had cell phones, but we didn't have data availability like regular. Everybody was pretty much Wi-Fi. And I said, can we hop onto your Wi-Fi to pull up the confirmation email? Nope, Wi-Fi's down. Okay, where's the closest Wi-Fi we can use for free? That'll be about 15 minutes in the other direction. Okay, let's go. Start walking down. We walk maybe 5 minutes. And my buddy Tom had the email on, because I didn't have a cell phone at that point. I didn't have a cell phone until late. He pulled it up on his cell because I had forwarded it to him. Pinged off one of the buildings nearby, got the email. Cool. Screenshot it, head back. We head back. We are walking in the door. And he goes, found your registration? I bet you did. Thank you. Can we have our room keys, please, so we can go to the convention? There's a problem. Of course there is. What's the problem? Well, the reservation's only for 3. I can tell you the email says 4. Nope, in our system it has 3. We can't do the reservation. Tom is now getting out of his seat again. Sit down. I said, sir, come with me. We go in the corner. I said, look, we have already been traveling for over an hour to get here. We've now been waiting almost an hour to get a room. What can we do to make this work? He goes, well, if you give me an extra $25 or something, we can get the reservation to go through. Here's your $25. Give me the damn keys. Gives me the keys. Reservation goes through. We go up to the room. It's 2 beds. We barely have any towels. There's no free soaps or, shampoos or anything like that. Yeah, we can tell what type of weekend we're in store for. The next night at about probably 3 in the morning, fire alarm where we all had to go outside in the rain. Funny enough, there were friends from high school that were staying in the hotel for Fan Expo as well. They met us outside and we got to say hi to them, which was nice. And while all this frustration happens, I believe that there is, in every place in the universe, the yin-yang balance. There is positive and there is negative, and they will always balance each other out. With all this negativity that has happened, one of the absolute funniest moments of Tom, Gavin, and I's friendship happened during this trip as well. And after we go through this, we will go through the pictures and I will show you what Fan Expo was like in 2009. During the week leading up, Tom, Gavin, and I were big fans of a TV show at the time called Man Tracker. Now, if you've no idea what this show is, basically the concept of the show is they would get 2 people and they would be out in the wilderness and they would let them run through the wilderness, and they had to get from point A to point B in 48 hours or 24 hours because they had to sleep one night and get there the next day. And after a certain amount of time, they would then send the Man Tracker against them. This is a person who is known throughout the world of tracking humans and prisoners through wilderness and stuff. He's very good at picking up scents and, footprints and stuff like that. He is on horseback. And the goal is for those people to get to the end before the Man Tracker gets them. Now, during the show, you see them during the daytime, and then you have a night segment, and that is them camping out. They give them camping equipment, and there's usually a nighttime shot where everything is pitch black behind them, and it's kind of them just in a POV shot with a camera, and they basically talk about what the day was like. And it's usually something like, it was a really long day. We heard Man Tracker, a few miles down the road, and we were able to avoid him and stuff like that. Now, I always thought that the way that it was shot was there was always, face was in the middle and there was space on either side. And I always envisioned that they would be doing this POV shot, and out of the one side, the Man Tracker's head would come into frame and go, Man Tracker, and come out just to scare them. And we always joked about that, that would be one of the funniest scenes of him just scaring the daylights out of everybody. So, end of night 1, we're finished the con, we go back to the hotel, we're relaxing, it is time for bed. I am in one bed, my buddy Gavin is sleeping next to me, my buddy Andy and my buddy Tom are in the other bed. Flick the lights off, I am laying there. For those who obviously don't know, because you haven't slept next to me, I usually sleep on my side, facing the outside of the bed. Gavin, in his infamous stealth mode that he has, slides off the bed in the most thud no stealth at all, just boom, hits the floor across the carpet. I slowly open my eyes a little bit in the darkness and I see a head come up. Man Tracker. Snake slides into bed, dead silent, lasts probably 5 seconds, and then he starts snickering like a kid, and we all crack up laughing. It was one of the funniest things I've ever seen that guy do, and I don't think he could ever top it, just with I'm trying to be stealth, but failing miserably. Like Metal Gear Solid, the guy's dead in 3 steps. Like, could not survive. But he thought he was able to get one up on us, and we just died laughing. Sorry. I love that story, and it is a moment that just sits in my brain of the guy is a comedic genius, and that is one of the moments that just was like, you nailed that one perfectly. So I think it's time to go through what Fan Expo looked like in 2009, because it's been 16 years, 15 years of doing this, and it's a little different. It's a little different. There are things that are the same, but there are things that are a little different. So I'm going to pull up these photos. Some of them are just shots from, I just shot everything. So there's some in here that you're like, why is it a picture of you and your buddy sitting in a hotel room? It was just a moment that we enjoyed. And again, this is a 2009 camera, so do not expect the 4K HD beautiful color photos. It's the best we could do. So here is the first photo of the amazing hotel room that the moment happened where we got where we had the man tracker. So the first time we were there, that is my buddy Tom on the right, and my buddy, his little brother Andy on the left. Andy, his first time going, decided to cosplay. I kind of cosplayed on my first one, but I didn't know what. I didn't want to over cosplay one of my first ones, so you'll see it in a little bit. You can see a copy of World War Z on the bed. That was something that I believe was the big book at the time. So my buddy Gavin was really excited to be reading that and going to Fan Expo, because I don't want to say the author was there, but I think a lot of people were doing stuff with World War Z at the time. And that is the first cosplay that I know that Andy ever did of Rorschach. Yeah, it is just a simple trench coat. It is a balaclava mask that he has drawn on the Rorschach test, and a tan fedora. And you know what? It worked out really well. I remember he got a lot of people getting photos of him in that, because cosplay wasn't as big as it is now. Like I've talked about on the podcast, technology has totally changed the way we view cosplay, and this was a 10 out of 10 at that point. So, and I think he did a killer job on it. So, as with most Comic-Cons in the area, we did see Mr. Lou Ferrigno at the convention. And I want to point out, these are all photos of the celebrities. Well, most of the photos of the celebrities in this are from a distance. Even I didn't know that at the time, that you weren't supposed to do that. So, if you're going to conventions now, don't take photos from a distance. A lot of celebrities don't like that. I'll admit, even I did it. That's why I don't get on many people when, I see it happening now, because maybe they're first time going to Comic-Con and they don't know. So, so Lou Ferrigno, even back then, was still kind of the popular guest, and he has a line now, just like he had a line back then. So as with, not as much now, but a lot back then, there was a lot of studios and big companies with booths. So this was the Alliance movie booth, where they were talking about movies like Laid to Rest, 9, Halloween 2. We had Anchor Bay around the corner, which is doing a lot of horror stuff. There's still some of that element in Fan Expo Canada now with a couple of the bigger booths, but it was it was almost more like a San Diego Comic-Con is now, where it's a lot of corporate booths. That's kind of what Fan Expo was now. Now it's not as many, which, tomato, if you like it or not. Oh, also, back in 2009, this was just the South Building. If you've never been to Fan Expo Canada, you have a North Building and a South Building in the Metro Toronto Convention Center. The North Building, if you've been but you don't know, is where most of the celebrities hang out. There's a little bit of shopping. The South Building is all shopping. They also have some Artist Alley stuff. That's all Fan Expo was back then. It was just the South Building. So it wasn't until 2 years after that, so 2011, they just did the North Building, and everyone hated it because of how crazy busy it was. Then I think they moved down one more year to just the south, and then I think it was 2013 they introduced both buildings and have been doing that ever since. And it's great having both buildings because it's so much better spread out a bit because it spreads people out as well. This is my buddy Gavin in front of the My Name is Bruce poster. That movie had just come out. That was his cosplay for the weekend, was My Name is Bruce, because we were meeting Bruce Campbell. Yeah, it was a really good movie. If I remember correctly, him and Tom volunteered actually that weekend, and I believe Gavin worked with Bruce or was around Bruce at the time for a short time that weekend. So he got to meet him with me and also got to work with him a bit. So here we've got some Canadian stuff. We've got the Canadian leg lamps. This used to be a big booth where they just sold the Christmas movie leg lamps. That was a booth for like one product. You had some independent horror stuff. And if you know what this is, if you've been to Fan Expo, that big t-shirt tower that's there every single year has been there since the first year I went. There's been years where there's been 2, 3 at a convention. There's been years where it's just one. But this, even the first time I went, they've always had that giant t-shirt tower. Troma. Troma was big back when I started. So when I first started going in 2009, Fan Expo was broken up very, very specifically in different sections. So if you go today, everything's kind of intermingled. Like there's anime stuff next to Comic-Con, next to comic book stuff, next to sci-fi stuff, next to the. Back then, it was literally like video game section, anime section, sci-fi section, comic section, horror section. Like it was, you had lines in the sand that showed where each one was. And back then, not as much now, they had a lot of horror. As Justin Smith says, last Fan Expo I went to was 2015. A lot of horror back then. Yeah, for the first 5-6 years, they had a good amount of horror. They still have a little bit, but I will admit, I think it was around just before the pandemic, if not the first year after the pandemic, I started getting emails in my inbox after the con of what did you like, what didn't you like, and I could tell based off the copy they really were wanting to see what people thought of the horror stuff and if they should keep it or not. So I think they got enough people saying keep some of it, but it's definitely a lot less than they used to have. But yeah, Troma was really big. They had people cosplaying as Toxic Avenger. They had, what's his name, who runs Troma was a regular there. We used to see him all the time. This is when that movie, The Dark Knight, was really big, and we had many people trying to sell motorcycle suits and stuff like that. I know now they do have a couple leather jacket places that do sort of replicas of like Claire's, Robin's, and stuff like that. But this was the first time that we saw a suit that looked like a Batman suit. And this one in the photo is a motorcycle suit, but it is the first time that we were like, this is a Batman suit. This really could be. So we were really cool with that. This is just a picture of a coffin. I thought that was pretty fun. Just have a random coffin laying around. Again, a lot of horror stuff. Back then, I was a lot more big of a horror fan than I used to be. Or I used to be more of a horror fan than I am now. So there's a bunch of horror photos in this. You see what that is? See what that is down here? That's carpet. You don't see that very often at Fan Expo anymore. There was a lot of space at Fan Expo. And again, just being one building, it was a lot of room. And I think I hear a lot of people complaining about that now, that Fan Expo has become so crowded and they don't like being shoulder to shoulder with people. And I kind of feel that way on Saturdays. Like that's why, thankfully, I'm a cosplayer, so I just kind of stay in the one area and don't have to deal with the main floor. But I get it. Why? I get that people feel it's a little too overcrowded. And this is proof that back in the day, you could kind of do jumping jacks in the middle of the con and you wouldn't hit anybody. I had to take this photo because it was the time when Halloween 2 was coming out. I was super excited to see what they were going to do with Halloween 2. Rob Zombie had it again. Boy, was I sorely disappointed in how that went. Pretty Nerd Crystal said, I miss the carpets. It helped with sore feet. Yes. Yeah, I wish they had them back, but the problem is they just get so beat up, especially with how much traffic they have to deal with. Again, the t-shirt tower. And you know what? I can tell you right now, some of these t-shirts are still being sold there. Like, I know the M&M shirts have been there. Some of the Disney stuff is still there. But yeah, it's crazy to think that's 15 years, 16 years of still being there. Midnight Monster. This was part of the Halloween haunt for Canada's Wonderland. Again, seeing this stuff in real life is kind of something that I really enjoyed seeing that. I really enjoyed the horror side of it. I wish they'd bring some of it back, but I get that a lot of people don't. What year did they get rid of the carpets? I want to say it was probably 18, 19, I think just before the pandemic. I know the pandemic really changed some stuff. I believe Informa took over it in 17, 18. So I want to say, yeah, it was about 18 because that's when Informa took over the ownership of the con. And I believe that's when they switched out of the carpets. They changed a lot that year. So, yeah, I want to say it's around then. Tron Legacy bike. Here's the thing. I'm not a Tron fan, but even seeing this in person, I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. Yeah, that was the big Disney movie of the time. Rue Morgue magazine, again, way more horror stuff then. They were a big sponsor. They were a sponsor of a bunch of the cosplay stuff. There was a lot of different horror stuff going on, which I wish, I do wish there was a little bit more of it. So we've got again, don't take photos when people aren't paying attention. But yeah, Benjamin Sisko from Deep Space Nine was one of the guests that year. We had the amazing Leonard Nimoy was there. I never actually got to meet Leonard Nimoy. I like Star Trek, but it's never been my giant fandom, so I never really got a chance to meet any of them. But he is an amazing celebrity from everything I've heard. Again, Halloween Haunt. Yeah, Canada's Wonderland was a big thing back then. They were a big sponsor and really had a lot of room down there to show off their stuff. This individual, I wish I could remember her name. So back then, there was a lot of independent stuff there, and I really enjoyed it because it allowed us to see or people would get their independent movies and shorts and stuff in front of us. And I really enjoyed that because there was stuff that I would never have taken a chance on, but if you went to a panel, you could watch 15, 20 minutes of a movie, and that might get you to watch it. And this was a movie that was out that they were bringing out. It's called Girl Fight, I think it was called, and she was the star of it. We went to her panel, and it was a really good fight movie. Like, it was an action girl leading fight movie. This was the same the next year. When we changed hotels, we ended up staying in Chinatown, which, if you know, Toronto is about a 30-minute walk from the Metro Toronto Convention Center. We stayed there, and as we were walking back, there was an independent theater that Fan Expo had rented out for the night, and they were showing one of the first showings of Human Centipede before it blew up and everyone thought how crazy it was. I remember walking by that theater. It was out. They had it for like 2 nights, and both times we walked by, and I was like, you know what? We could probably duck in and watch it and kind of know what it was, and we never did. I'm kind of glad because it's a crazy movie. But yeah, that was one of the cool parts about Fan Expo Canada back in the day was there was a lot of independent stuff that was around that you could go in Fan Expo and see, and there was that. There was a couple trauma stuff that we would go to panels and they'd have a video screen set up and we just watched like 15 minutes of a movie. Or if someone made a short, like there was one year where there was a horror short competition and we would sit there and we would watch like 4 horror shorts, 15 minutes a piece. And it was fun. Like that took up the hour, but we got to see what these shorts were like and maybe we'd watch the movie later on. Victor Lucas from Electric Playground. I was always a big Victor Lucas fan in that show. He still can be found at Fan Expo every couple years. I see him walking around. I've never had a chance to really walk up and talk to him, but if you're a fan of Canadian gaming TV shows, this was the show you watched. They reviewed video games and talked about what was coming out. This is the big one. So, back in the day, before everything changed, Marvel and DC had booths at Fan Expo Canada. And Tom volunteered the first year, and guess what booth he worked at? Tom got to work at the Marvel booth and hang out with, like, what was their names? The chief content creator of it, the exec, like a bunch of publishers, like, got to hang out with high-end Marvel executives, just hung out and ate pizza. Because all this line is they had autographs and giveaways. So you could literally walk up to the Marvel booth, line up, and there'd be like 20 comics lined up and buttons and stickers, and you could just grab a little bit of each and throw it in your bag. DC had a booth. Marvel had a booth. It was so cool. And yeah, they had the executives just hanging out. They used to have panels, kind of like they do at San Diego Comic-Con, where the executives of Marvel would come and they would just have a panel and talk about what was coming out. And they ended up knowing Tom, myself, and Gavin, because after like 3 years, we would be there at every Marvel panel, just sitting in the front row, because we'd get there bright and early and just wait to hear what they were talking about. And there was definitely a couple years where they're like, oh, hey, it's you guys. And we would walk back to the booth and talk with them on the walk. And it was so cool. And then Fan Expo became Fan Expo, and Marvel isn't there anymore. I don't know why. I have my suspicions. And same with DC. They had the DC booth set up, the exact same thing. You got to walk through and pick up some free comics. You got to pick up some buttons and stuff. I got all the lantern rings because this was the year that, I'll show in a second, that Blackest Night was coming out. And I got the Flash ring because Flashpoint had just finished. So they had tons of stuff there. First time seeing a Green Lantern cosplay. I was so impressed by this. Honestly, it's still one of the coolest ones I've ever seen. And I don't know where this cosplayer is, but man, he inspired me to do Green Lantern. And that is my buddy Andy next to Green Lantern. Showing off all the new stuff that's coming out from Marvel, new Avengers stuff. Wolverine and the X-Men had just come out on TV, new Captain America. And there we go. The thing that kind of blew off my comic book love this generation was Blackest Night, and we were just about to kick off the Blackest Night series. Justice Smith, I got to play the demo kitchen at Fan Expo before anyone knew it was Resident Evil 7. Ooh, that's cool. That's cool. Crystal, sometimes I wish it was back to what it was before, honestly. There were things about it that I do miss. Like, I do miss, that print. This would, like, blew my mind. So we're standing in line to get the comics, and I look over, and we have Aquaman, Deadman, Superman, Firestorm, and Manhunter all in black lanterns. Like, I can't wait to read this series. That is one of the prints, if I could ever find it, I would love to get for my wall, because it is just the moment of like, okay, I'm a comic book fan again. I'm so excited. PlayStation had a booth back then. I think they were doing Uncharted was kind of the big thing at the time. And there's your first cosplay. There's baby's first cosplay. That is me doing my first version of Superboy. That is my motorcycle jacket. That is the same jacket that I wear for Ghost Rider. That is a Superman t-shirt, and that is the crummiest looking of circle glasses I could have. And look at those sweet mutton chops. Look at those sexy things. That guy got married. See, kids, there's a chance for everybody. This is James Duval from Gone in 60 Seconds and Donnie Darko. We actually, again, something that doesn't happen again because there's 10,000 people and security and stuff. We actually went outside for a break, and James Duval came out with us and just like sat next to us, and we were talking about Donnie Darko and stuff. He's just sitting there having a smoke. Like, it's crazy to think of what happened only like 2009. There were just celebrities, and it still happens now. Like, I've seen Jay Muse walking around Comic-Con because he just feels like it. But just having him come out and have a smoke, you're just like, holy shit, it's James Newell from Gone in 60 Seconds. My first celebrity autograph, Mr. Billy D. Williams, Lando Calrissian. And it wasn't for me. That picture signed is not for me. That is for my mom. Yep, my mom is a big Billy D. Williams fan because, well, it's Billy D. Williams. And that was the one thing she asked, is that I get a photo autograph for her. So, yep, that was my first celebrity meet, was Mr. Billy D. Williams. Larry Thomas was there, Mr. Soup Nazi from Seinfeld. It is very cool to look at this photo because it was only 4 or 5 years later that I was volunteering for the first time at Comic-Con, and he was actually someone I got to interact with later. We actually ended up going to a bar after and talking about being that character and life, and actually gave me a lot of good life advice. Him and Flash Gordon. That's a story that I love telling, being in a bar and staring at a TV watching football with the Soup Nazi on one side and Flash Gordon on the other. Like, okay, that's my life right now. First group of cosplayers, the DC and the Batman's Rogues Gallery. We have the Killing Joke, we have Catwoman, Harley, Penguin, Scarecrow, Two-Face, and Riddler. Amazing. And this is the stuff that really made me go like, I want to do this, because it was people like that where I'm just like, yep, let's jump into this. We had some droids rolling around, which we got all the time. The cosplay I tell everybody about, the most mind-blowing cosplay when I went there, Michael Myers dragging what I found out in a few seconds was his girlfriend by a backpack. So she has what kids of the 90s known as a scooter board under her butt, which they have sort of sewn into the jeans, and she is being pulled by the backpack. Now, she is just being pulled by the backpack. It is not attached to her back. It is pulling under her arms. They walk down the hall and they tuck around the corner. I take this photo. I run down and see them. She is holding her underarms in pain because she has been literally dragged that far, like a long hallway just under her arms. It is one of the dopest looking cosplays I've ever seen. I don't know anybody who would allow me to do that to them, but it is such a cool look. We got some snow troopers walking around. We've got some stormtroopers walking around over there. We got some Ghostbusters. We'll run into them in a second. We've got Mr. Darth Vader, as always, making an appearance. There's our Ghostbuster. Master Chief. We've got some Master Chief in the house. And my first panel, Mr. Bruce Campbell, made sure I had to go that, and actually did answer my question. I did ask him, what is your opinion on movie sequels and horror sequels specifically? He said that he did not like it because it gets really confusing with people, especially now that we're doing reboots. And yeah, really, really nice guy. Linda Hamilton, Mrs. Terminator, in the house. I would love to meet her. Unfortunately, I don't think she does many conventions anymore. Another picture of Andy, who watches The Watchmen. The Watchmen was really big at the time. I believe the movie was just about to come out. Getting ready for the Masquerade, my first cosplay competition. That is the crowd that used to be at the cosplay competitions, folks. When I tell people that it used to be a sellout crowd, it used to be a sellout crowd. And that is not just this section. That goes all the way to one side and all the way to the other. It was packed. We watched a little short beforehand. We had the kids going across first with little baby Thor. We had some Power Rangers up on stage playing some rock band stuff. And then I got to meet Mr. Bruce Campbell. I don't have the photo with me. It is downstairs. We did get a photo up with him. The thing I got him to sign, which I feel bad for, was the Evil Dead game for the PS2. Did not know at the time that he does not like that game because they used his likeness without him agreeing to it. Felt bad about that, but he still signed it. He was still nice about it. Super, super, super nice guy. Unfortunately, he's battling cancer right now. I never actually got to meet him again. We've done a bunch of conventions where I've been in the vicinity, but I haven't had a chance to actually talk to him. I would really like to talk to him one more time just to say, like, man, it's because of you that I started going to Comic-Con, and now I'm doing this. Again, more amazing DC stuff that I wish was still around. Some Halo and Master Chief stuff that I think some people would love to have in their house. I remember walking by that and being like, I'm not even a Halo fan, but yeah, that is something I think I'd like to have in my own room. I have to say Bruce has the worst signature of all the signatures. Would love to meet him again, though. Really, I thought his signature wasn't too bad with mine. I have seen some crummy ones, but mine he actually did pretty good. See, folks, it does still get busy there back in the day. Hello, person who felt like looking at the camera as I took the photo. Still packed, even on the Saturdays, even back then. Some more cosplays. We got some Gurr and a pink Darth Vader. Us just sitting around. Back then, I didn't really understand what Comic-Con was, so I'm there with my rocker jacket that I wore to Guns N' Roses, actually. My rocker vest, a Megadeth t-shirt, and my amazing sideburns. I'm very proud of those. Gavin with the rock, paper, scissors people. I remember they were there for the first couple years that we went, and Gavin was always excited to meet them. I want to say it was a movie or an internet series or something, but he always loved them. Ninja Turtle. We've got some clone troopers, an amazing Edward from Twilight, which we cracked up laughing seeing that. I think he did a killer job. Bane, and I think I know who's under that. I'm under that mask. I'm not 100%, but I'm pretty sure based off the physique, I know who that is. Another picture of Gurr, a Batwoman, Death from Sandman, which we all marked out for because we had all read Sandman recently, and we're like, in the flesh. And that was it. That's us getting ready to leave on the Monday morning. We actually stayed the extra night, so we didn't have to deal with the traffic and bus being busy. This is Monday morning, bright and early, getting ready to head home. And that was Fan Expo. Fan Expo 2009 was the beginning of a lot of things. And it was definitely a moment in my life that, like I said at the beginning, I don't know where I would be without it. Do I think I would end up going at some point? Maybe. I'd hope. But I don't know if I'd be where I am today. I don't know if I'd know the people that I know today because of it. Because if I didn't go then, I wouldn't have volunteered a couple years later after I had done Fan Expo 4 times and I wanted to try other cons. I don't know if I would be cosplaying as much as I am now because I saw how great the cosplay was then. Maybe next year I don't see the cosplays like I did that year. So it is definitely a moment that, there's a few moments in my life that I'm able to look back on and say, if I didn't make that decision, I don't know where I'd be. And I am so, so grateful that I said yes. Because there are so many incredible people that I've met because of it. From the volunteer people, to the cosplayers, to people that I've met on social media who have seen my cosplay, who have messaged me and said that something I did has helped them, has motivated them to cosplay. And it wouldn't happen if I didn't say yes to going to Fan Expo for the first time. And it's scary to think if I didn't, where I would be today. Because I'm really freaking happy where I am right now. And I'm really glad that I know so many people. And if there are any cosplayers, if there's any volunteers, if there's anybody out there who I have befriended over these last 15 years and I don't contact you as much. I don't know. We're all busy. Please don't believe that I have any ill will. Like, seriously, every single person that I've run into means so much to me. And I've told the con fam that. I've told cosplayers that. Seriously, like, means the world to me that anybody gives a damn about what I do. So, thank you. From the bottom of my heart, thank you. So, it's enough with the mushy stuff. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. I know we went a little late tonight, and I had a feeling we would. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you can hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and all those things, it would mean a lot. Let me see. Where are we? We're on episode 156. We're going to do an episode next week. I don't know exactly what it is. I've got some ideas. The week after, we're going to do a recap of Fan Expo. I like this format right now, the kind of what we did tonight. I'm going to do a similar thing in 2 weeks where we're just going to go through some of the best things that have happened over the past 15 years of me going to Fan Expo. So if you liked this, tune in 2 weeks because we're going to talk about a whole bunch more fun stories, including stuff like Tom and me running into Ron Perlman while just wearing bathrobes. That's always a fun story. We're going to talk about that. And then we're going to be neck deep into Fan Expo Canada time because Fan Expo Canada 2026 is on its way. It'll be here at the end of the month. If you are going, I can't wait to see you. I will be bringing Ghost Rider. I will be bringing Darius, and I will make the announcement here on the podcast. It will be coming out on my socials in the next couple days. I will be a part of the cosplay competition, the Masters of Cosplay competition on the Saturday night, and I will be bringing Darius with me, and I'll be competing with him. So if you want to come to the Masters of Cosplay competition, you will see me as well as many other amazing cosplayers. And then Sunday, I will be debuting, as I announced today, Peacemaker. An amazing cosplayer gave me his cosplay as a gift, and I appreciate that. And now that I've made some tweaks to it and some edits, which I will be continuing to do this week because I have a few little other tweaks to do, I'll be debuting that on the Sunday. And I'm doing that not even realizing until after I posted it that that is the same day that John Cena will be there. So I will be wearing that on the Sunday. I'll be wearing Darius on the Saturday, and I will be wearing Ghost Rider on the Friday. Thursday, I will be there, but I will be in street clothes because that is my shopping day. I will be going around, just running around buying my stuff because once I'm in cosplay, it gets really hard to get anywhere in those things. So buy all my stuff that day, and yeah, so I'm going to let you guys go. If you guys want to follow me on all my social media, you know what it is. Myers Corp Cosplay on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. If you want to follow my wrestling account, it's Monday Night Myers Corp Wrestling on TikTok. That is where we talk about wrestling stuff every single day, or I try to. And we got a lot of cosplay content coming out on YouTube. So if you want to hop over to the other channel, Myers Corp Cosplay, we got cosplay content coming out every single day. And if you hit that like button, hit that share button, hit that subscribe button as well, it'd be greatly appreciated. Folks, have yourselves a great week, a great night. I gotta go shopping. I gotta go grocery shopping now. Have yourselves a great night. I love you all, and I will see you very, very soon. Take care. Thanks so much for watching Monday Night Nerd. Make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out